Jonny. Welcome to my house of horrors.
The fourth season of Stranger Things is just around the corner, and I, for one, am very excited. And I'm guessing you are too, because otherwise, what are you doing watching this?
I'm going to assume you're already caught up on seasons 1 and 2, but in case you're not, there's links in the description for both of my recaps. Now let's get into season 3.
Season 3 opens a few months before Season 2, and the Russians are opening the gate to the Upside Down, because what else are you going to do in Russia back then? And then precisely 1 year after 11 shut down the Mind Flayer, Hawkins is a flockins to the new Starcourt Mall, as was the way in the 1980s.
Dustin has been away at science camp, and he's allegedly got himself a girl named Susie.
Times being what they were, he builds himself a transmitter radio contraption so they can WhatsApp each other. But in place of her voice, he picks up a secret Russian signal. All the rats in Hawkins congregate in the steel mill, and then they explode into a mess of quivering rhubarb pie filling. And when Max's asshole brother Billy drives by the steel mill on his way to a spicy rendezvous with Mike's mom...
Seriously? What are you talking about?
His car's hit by something and him and his haircut are dragged into the mill kicking and screaming. Not surprisingly, he ends up in the Upside Down. While Chief Hopper's trying to arrange a date with Joyce, Joyce's attention's focused on the fact that all the magnets in her shop have stopped working.
Which for a single guy is much harder to hear than, "I've got to wash my hair later."
Dustin visits Steve at work and he meets his co-worker, Robin, and the three of them decode Dustin's Russian message. Kind of, because it's nonsensical. And when bad boy Billy goes back to lifeguarding, he's all infected with the Upside Down, so he kidnaps one of his co-workers and brings her back to the mill, where she's treated very poorly. Nancy and Jonathan, the budding investigative journalists, go visit the rat situation at Mrs. Driscoll's house. And Mrs. Driscoll's acting super weird. Back in the ice cream parlor, Robin's figured out the Russian message is about a shipment going to the Starcourt Mall that very night. So the three of them agree to stake out the mall.
And if I was a teenager capable of decoding a secret Russian message in just a few hours to stave off boredom, I would not be spending my spare time staking out the mall. I would be spending it getting myself a job where I was not serving ice cream.
Still fixated on the magnets, Joyce convinces Hopper to join her in the old Hawkins lab to see if it's the source of the problem. And despite being pissed that she stood him up the night before, he agrees to join her. And when they get there, Hopper's attacked by, you guessed it, a Russian G.I. Joe guy. Elsewhere, 11 uses her powers and sees what Billy's doing to his coworker Heather. So her and Max head to Heather's parents' house where everything looks painfully normal. So they leave. But after they leave, Heather's parents take a proper kicking, which ties in nicely with Will telling everyone the Mind Flayer's back, and Billy is now under its control. After his tussle with the Russian, Chief Hopper sees the Russian meeting with Larry, the mayor. So Hopper shakes him down. And to add insult to injury, Hopper's wearing his new Miami Vice shirt.
I'm sure it's a guy thing, but getting beat up by a dude wearing a shirt like that, it's worse.
They learn the Russian works for the Starcourt Mall owners, and his name is Grigory.
Of course it is. Russian guys on TV are called Vladimir, Ivan, Dmitri, or Grigory. Every time.
Back in the mall, Dustin and Steve and Robin and Lucas's sister find an elevator leading way down under the mall, and they get trapped down there. Meanwhile, Nancy goes to bring flowers to poor Mrs. Driscoll at the hospital, and poor Mrs. Driscoll throws a wobbler because of her Mind Flayer infection. And at the same time, back at the pool, Billy's throwing a similar wobbler as the gang have him trapped in the sauna in hopes of sweating the rottenness out of him. But Billy goes bonkers too and gives 11 a proper run for her supernatural money. And after the tussle, he heads to the mill and we get an idea of how many other people he and his hair have infected. The elevator in the mall takes Dustin and the gang down into a secret underground Russian lab, where they see how the Russians try to open the gate to the Upside Down. And while that's happening, Hopper and Joyce find another secret lab on an abandoned property owned by the Starcourt owners. And when they're attacked, they get the hell out of there with a Russian scientist named Alexei.
Correction. Russian guys on TV are always called Vladimir, Ivan, Dmitri, Grigory, or Alexei. Every time.
Eleven and her entourage hook up with Nancy and Jonathan, and they agree Billy and poor Mrs. Driscoll are possessed by the Mind Flayer. They try visiting Mrs. Driscoll, but she's disappeared, so they get attacked by half the flayed staff from the newspaper. And when they defeat them, they all wind up a slimy mess that reforms as a horrific creature. But 11 comes to the rescue again, and the creature takes off to the mill with its slimy tail tucked between its legs. Way down in the underground Russian lab, Robin and Steve are taken for questioning, but Dustin and Erica eventually rescue them in a scene that feels kinda like something from Austin Powers. And back at Murray the conspiracy theorist's place, Alexei the Russian tells everyone the Russians are trying to open the Upside Down. Yet again, 11 locates Billy with her powers so they can find the Mind Flayer. But things backfire when the Mind Flayer learns her location, because the Mind Flayer wants revenge for her closing the gate. Back at the steel mill, all the flayed folks are rendered rhubarb pie filling again before coming together to form the physical version of the Mind Flayer. And now that it's all huge and it knows where 11 is, it comes for her. And she suffers some damage in the fight, but they get her safely inside a store where they tidy up her wounds. Dustin and Erica drag a drugged Steve and Robin back through the mall. Dustin tries to contact 11 to let them know what's going on, but his walkie runs out of batteries.
Talk about your 1980s problems, huh? I mean, nowadays that radio would be cool, clean, environmentally friendly, solar-powered, right? What do you mean? Why would half of the governments be pushing this if it doesn't even work?
Joyce and Chief Hopper go looking for the kids at the fair, and Murray and Alexei, the Russian, are found by the other Russians, and Alexei's killed to death, which is sad, because he was just starting to enjoy his first taste of Western frivolity. Murray and Joyce and Chief Hopper reunite, and they learn the Russians are after the kids in the mall. And right at the last minute, when it looks like Dustin's gang are done for, 11 shows up and saves another day. But the efforts weaken her and she collapses. And a few gory minutes later, and they've removed a bit of Mind Flayer from her shin. Chief Hopper and Joyce arrive to get everyone out, while Murray heads down to turn off the Russian gate opening thingamajig. But the Mind Flayer and Billy are both focused on finishing 11 off once and for all. A possessed Billy sets her down for a flayin'. But 11 manages to sway him from the dark side just long enough for him to remember right from wrong. Chief Hopper and Joyce end up where they need to be in the machine room. And Hopper and Grigori go toe-to-toe in what proves to be the Chief's final fight. And with no time left, Joyce is forced to flip the switch. The gate closes, the Mind Flayer's defeated, but Chief Hopper's killed for real. We jump ahead 3 months. Joyce and her family have left Hawkins and brought the now properly normal, curly-haired, powerless 11 along with them. And meanwhile, in Russia, the Russians feed a live prisoner to a demigorgon, but they make sure the prisoner is not the American. How intriguing.
Who is the American, you ask? I don't know. I have a few ideas, as I'm sure you do, but ultimately it doesn't matter because we're going to find out soon enough, as Season 4 is minutes away. Thousands and thousands of minutes away, but minutes nonetheless. Fingers crossed this next season ends up being half as good as they say it's going to. As always, folks, thank you for liking and subscribing, and until next time. It's me, Jonny, from that thing you just watched. If you enjoyed it, go down there and smash me in the face to subscribe. And if you want to watch another thing, there's one right there. Do it!